32 minutes, 21 seconds. 5-second tone followed by a 1-second pause.
You are listening to Spaceboy and Universe.
Okay, gang, let's go.
From the space city called Houston, Texas, welcome to Spaceboy Universe, featuring Spaceboy and the lovely Surlana. So strap in and prepare for launch sequence.
Greetings, I am Spaceboy.
And I am Surlana.
And this is a special edition of Spaceboy Universe. We are so glad that you tuned in tonight. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering about what's been going on here in H-Town. And I am referring to the headache known as Harvey. And I'm not referring to Steve in that matter. But apparently it's been pretty crazy here in Houston. Well, I can't say just in Houston. All along the Gulf Coast, we've experienced...
Southeast Texas.
Yeah, Southeast Texas has been inundated with torrential rains and destruction, and so tonight we decided to get on the air and broadcast to one, at the very least, to let everybody know that we are doing okay. We have missed a huge bullet thus far, and when I say thus far,
it's still raining.
We're not out yet.
It won't stop. It's going to rain today, tomorrow, Wednesday. Thursday is a 50% chance of rain.
Mm-hmm. I know that you have been told by your
Excuse me
job
for drinking root beer.
That you will be out until September 4th.
My job is closed to September 4th, which is a university, and I can't believe the other universities in the system think they're going to open on Thursday, so we'll see.
I know that I just got a notice from my work that we will be out probably the next 2 more days and kind of go from there. The way things are rolling, I wouldn't be surprised if we're out for the rest of the week. But you know, unlike you and your situation as a tech guy, as long as I have an internet connection, I'm sure I'm going to be working remote.
We have been so fortunate in this entire time. We have not once lost power. We saw flickering now and then, and something like your...
We had a disturbance in the internet.
And it was a disturbance in the force. We had to reboot our router at one time, but I don't know if that's our problem or Comcast problem.
Well, but and then you know, I think it's important to add is that you're absolutely right. We've been very fortunate. In fact, the water came within 4 inches of our front and back door.
And we got these things. We got these weird breaks. Like it would get right up to getting into about in our house, and then the band would go by, and we'd get like an hour or 2 break.
Let the water
let it drain
dissipate
somewhat. And considering we're still on ditches, we haven't got city draining yet, although it's on the way.
Well, the thing is, they're in our neighborhood. They're converting the roads over to city drainage. And for those who don't know, the difference is that in front of our yard is this basically a ditch, if you will, and under our driveways are holes that allow the water to navigate from the end of our street out to the freeway I-10. And so they've been slowly converting us over to, I guess, city drainage.
City drainage, just like, you know, you've got a concrete and, you know, storm drain. And
storm drain, you look in there and you'll see the guy from It.
Yeah,
and
that type of thing.
That kind of thing.
That type of thing. So I just want to give you a quick update on us before we go to the wider what's going on in Houston, what you've heard, you know, social media and whatnot. Right now, if you go open our front door and you just look right out the front door, it looks like just a really heavy rainy day. Nothing really out of the ordinary, but if you start walking out. Like, yeah, it's not quite normal, you know. So we've had a chance to drain. There's a steady downpour of rain, a shower. So it's not like it was, let's say, Saturday. So it's doing better, but there's a lot of people in Houston, and there's a lot of people in very bad shape. There have been, unfortunately, 8 fatalities, and 6 of those were drownings.
And I don't want to belittle the amount of people that have passed on, which is pretty low as far as the devastation that has happened here in Houston, as far as deaths are concerned. It's amazing that we didn't have more fatalities, not necessarily just in Houston, but going all the way down into Corpus Christi and that area too as well. I think
the fatalities that happened after it hit was the fact that nobody realized the water was going to be as much and as fast. Because, you know, we saw on the we were watching the news, like, people kept saying, we just didn't see it coming this fast. It came so fast. And
well, the thing is, let's go back to last week, before we knew that this thing was coming. There was really not that much talk out there to let people know, hey, that this is a possibility. We're going to get hit. I mean, the first thing I heard was, okay, this thing's hitting Mexico, and like most hurricanes, okay, we missed another one, right? And it hit Mexico, but this thing, what it did was it bounced back out into the Gulf of Mexico.
This thing is sadistic.
And kind of made a turn, and then it headed towards Corpus Christi. And so, I mean, at that point is like, you're looking at Wednesday-ish around that time, and then before you realize that it's heading kind of this way. Now, what we had, I guess the issue that hit us was the fact that the hurricane, think of it a bit as a wheel that's spinning counterclockwise. Well, the counterclockwise edge of this hurricane pretty much saturated the Houston area, and that's where we got a lot of the rain. So, but once it hit landfall, it kind of stalled and waited there because there was a high pressure area that was further up north,
and it kept it there.
And not to mention, there was a high pressure area in Florida as well. So it was kind of like
trapped it.
It kind of trapped it. And what the positioning of these 2 high pressure areas did was it started to force it back into the Gulf, and now they're tracking the thing to go up into Houston again. So, that's kind of the situation we are. We're getting rain. It's not the kind of rain we were getting before, where if you look at the radar, there was a lot of heavy red spots when this thing started, I guess, late Friday evening. And now we're experiencing, I guess you could say orange to yellow. If you're familiar with these satellite imaging tracking devices, you could see it on the weather.com app.
Like red's the heaviest, and like yellow, orange, and then dark green, light green.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I think we're in the green area.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the map right now, and I'm seeing bits of orange, yellow, and some green on the very edges. But, yeah, it's nothing like it was when all this mess first started. The problem was at that time is that you had these bands. It's kind of like when you look at I kind of compare it to looking at a galaxy that has these arms in a spiral. Mm-hmm. And
Same thing.
So imagine the spiral as it's going across Houston. Well, first of all, it started hitting Baytown, which is just east of Houston. I mean, they're connected together, but Baytown started getting like pounded left and right, and these edges would just kind of continue to go over and constant,
like in waves,
Yeah, constant waves. So eventually that weather pattern moved more west, and we're on the west side of Houston, and eventually we started getting pounded one after another, and the water just rose and got close to the door, and it was scary there for a while. And
we slept in shifts and kept an eye on it, and then finally I think we just gave up and passed out.
Yeah, we were exhausted.
Yeah.
I was surprised that, even when we were doing the broadcast Saturday, we were, I was surprised that the internet stayed on because
I can't believe we've had power and internet, because when Ike was more about wind, this is more about rain. And they've had, devastating effects different. Ike was a breeze, pardon the pun, in that I think we bounced back from Ike in like a week. The whole city. This they're saying this could take months to a year to recover from. And I know it's probably going to be a week before you can get on a road and go somewhere. Like anywhere you need to. Like today we managed to get to an HEB because we're fortunate. There was no major flooded roads between us and the closest HEB, which is a grocery store, if you're not familiar with Texas grocery stores. And we went there, and of course the place was, there was quite a few people in there, and the lines were long to check out, but I have to say, everybody was calm, everybody was polite, there was no sense of panic. It was almost like a normal shopping day. I did see one poor woman bite it, slipping on the floor, but I think she was all right, or if she wasn't going to admit it. So, yeah.
Well, the thing is that, I have an app on my phone called Nextdoor, which kind of like it's like a neighborhood watch kind of thing, and people share information. I've kept it more for the simple fact that it's more funny than it is than serious at times, because you have people complaining about things that are, I guess, third world problems.
You can get it for your neighborhood if your neighborhood's on that app. And you can find out what's going on in your neighborhood, kind of like gossipy stuff, too.
But the great part about it is this morning when I got up around 6 this morning, I checked it to see if there was a store available, because we needed a few supplies to go out there and they picked that up. But sure enough, somebody asked a question, is something going on where we can get to a store or whatever? And they said, yeah, HEB is open, and so we headed out. That I had to get Surlana up, and she was a trooper. She got up. I know she was loving the fact of sleeping, which I don't blame her, because that night after the show, taking shifts and stressing out about.
Oh, I was up till 5, just freaking out.
I mean, we've really had a lack of sleep, especially that night. After the show, and then the Sunday going into Monday. Concerns because the water was back up at the front of the door, and so I've
been able to talk to my brother, my sister, my dad. So my brother and my dad are in California, where rain is a foreign thing to them, like snow for us. They're like, what's rain? So I'm like, I'd be happy to send a ton of this over there to y'all. So, but yeah, and the nice thing is, if you're on the Sprint network for your smartphone, Sprint is not charging for calls and texts until September 1st, so that's very nice for people in Houston. So that is a welcome break, and I've already paid the bill this month, so. But, yeah. Now, that's kind of just sort of what we're up to. We're kind of a wait and see to make sure we don't get water in the house. I think we got to get through one more day.
Well, I think my concern is that we probably won't feel comfortable until this thing blows on out. And I'm sorry, Louisiana, but it is coming your way.
But you're not going to get what we got.
Yeah, you're not going to get what we got. But it'll be nice to get this thing out of here.
Life-threatening rain.
I mean,
Holly's in the chat. I told her, I said, it's coming for you next.
We still have the other side of the hurricane that will pass us. But it's not going to be okay. Let me backtrack.
Get bread, eggs, and milk.
The hopeful thing about this hurricane thing is that, one, it's going to go back. I mean, when I say hopeful, don't confuse it with what I'm about to say. It's going to go back into the Gulf. And we hope that it doesn't gather steam again to, soak up and then dump more rain on us. But the thing is that the hopeful thing is that, the side of the hurricane that will dump some rain onto us is going to be very minimal. I mean, granted, we can't really take much rain. I mean, and we'll talk about the amount of rain that's been dumped on us. But the thing is that once this thing moves out, we should be right as rain. Pardon that expression.
Yeah, well, what's going on? Let's talk about what's going on. Some of the things, if you're not a Texan, if you're not living here, what you may have seen, what you may have heard.
Rumors, things.
It's every bit as bad as you think it is, if not worse. Yes, there's people that only can be rescued by boat. Some have been lifted by helicopter. It's all true. There has been a run on supplies, but like I said, people have been at least nice about it. Like,
Very
well, we're
civil.
taking all the water, but, thank you. It's been very civil, but there is no bottled water, eggs, milk, canned goods, pasta, snacks, chips. However, what's left is, I guess you could be proud of people trying to be more health conscious, is all the candy and soda is there.
Yeah, that's what
They've all left that, but the beer is gone. If they couldn't find water, they took beer. The funniest thing is, and this is on social media, and I might have posted it too, is no matter how bad things get here in Houston, it won't turn us into Cowboy fans. There was a huge rack of Cowboy branded foam coolers to put your ice and your drinks in. Nobody touched them. That's how bad no one wants to associate with the Dallas Cowboys. Down here in Houston, it's all about the Texans. So, yeah, it was. There's been a little humor there and there, and there's been a few weirdos that are jet skiing and floating in tubes and, other pool inflatables. I don't know if they're trying to make the best of it. And another thing you may have seen on social media and videos, and it's real, is people catching fish in their living rooms. And that's real. Wildlife is getting in the darndest places.
And let me stop you there, because this is a good story. Well,
sorry, that's another alert. Surprise supplies, we're under a flood warning.
Until 11:15 p.m. tonight.
And they'll just move that into the next day.
And that has been the story of our lives lately, of these notifications that have popped up. Is that in the other room, or?
That's in another room.
Wow.
NWS, National Weather Service.
So but basically those have popped up the night of, after that Saturday night. Mm-hmm. We had like over 20 of them hit us, and it's just one after another. Another.
Well, I was saying that.
What were you saying? Because I had a thought there.
There's people that have wildlife in their house.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to bring
fish,
up.
and unfortunately also deadly snakes.
Well, hold on. Before you go further, the important thing is to point out is, you pointed out, what was the couple, as far as what were their attitude?
They were having a good old time. It was a father and the daughter was filming it, and they were laughing and just having a great time.
And I think it is
with their house flooded.
It's a great way to point out the Houstonian mentality. I mean, Texas mentality in general, but the Houstonian thing is amazing with people down here. And I hate to brag and say that we have a great group of people compared to other people in the nation, but people in Houston are different. That
the house is flooded. There's fish in it. Let's have fun.
I mean, there's nothing exactly. I was going to say there's nothing else we can do. Let's just get through this. Let's make the best of it, and we'll do what we have to do. Put our best foot forward and go from there. And that really makes me feel good in the sense that, despite the adversity, that obviously they had like at least 2 feet of water in their home. Mm-hmm. And did you notice the power was still on too?
Well, you explain this. Somebody on social media asked this: how can you have power when your house is flooded? And you explain that maybe power's not going to the sockets that are flooded, but it's still going to your lights that are overhead. Mm-hmm. So maybe your refrigerator's probably not running. You're probably not getting any power to your appliances, and lamps and computers and things are plugged down low. But overhead, that hasn't flooded. So,
yeah, the refrigerator may not be running, but it's surely floating.
I think somebody turned over a fridge and stuck some kids or some dogs in it and floated down in an open fridge. Mm-hmm. I guess that's possible.
Now, what was that again? Did you see that video of? I saw a video where a couple of guys were rescuing a guy and they were holding on to a refrigerator.
It floats, I guess.
Yeah, it floats. Well, I mean, it's clearly when the doors are shut, and it will,
It's sealed.
It's sealed. I've heard.
Which is why they don't want kids playing in it.
I know this is extreme, but I do remember hearing a story about a fishing boat where it capsized and the guy stayed inside the cooler. Mm-hmm. And was able to survive because the cooler floated. because it got, I guess it popped off the boat and it floated out and he rescued him. But I mean, he had fish there to eat, and but anyway, I digress.
Anyway, yeah, wildlife. There's somebody that told me they have a friend that lives downtown that's flooded. Downtown's just flooded, and they said they had moccasins in their house. The snake, not the luxurious shoe, but. Another thing is gators are popping up in unexpected places. They've had to come get gators out of flooded areas because, you know, they can't necessarily take all the people out yet. So, like, well, we'll just have to get the gator out. And probably the most upsetting thing that is a real thing, and there's been pictures of it, is the floating islands of fire ants. Those, I would rather face a gator than a floating island of fire ants. Because, I mean, you could probably run from a gator, but I just kill it with fire ants. It just, like you said, put some napalm on that and run. They're just evil little things.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, you know, I've seen different videos where ants kind of band together to form one. And
yeah, they're holding on to each other.
They're holding on to each other, and, you know, you could see when they did the experience, they'd push the ants into the water and they would just plop back up. But, you know, it's the collective coming together. And I had an article somewhere about this. But, yeah, it's fascinating to see.
It's fascinating how they do this. They do that in the Amazon River, too. They do this exact same thing. They float to find a new place for their colony. And I'm like, ugh. But,
yeah, colonies basically can work up to 250,000 of these ants can band together, and the thing about it is, you don't want to touch that dang thing because
you don't want to touch them
because they'll swarm on you
anytime ever, even when they're in their own home.
You know, it's bad enough being bit by one fire ant because, you know, put a welt on you, but a collective of those ants they'll ruin your day, to say the least. But going back to what you say, it is. You know, where we're located, we're so close to wildlife.
Yes,
you know,
are.
Snakes and
the Addicts Reservoirs
and
behind
ants,
us.
And so, you know, it's not uncommon in flooded areas to see wildlife like this. And then, of course, you know, since we're so close to the coast, you're going to see things like alligators and. At least in our part of the neck of the woods, because, you know, from here all the way into Florida.
Well, I mean, sometimes we have a heavy rain. I'm used to hearing some frogs when we go outside. But, oh, my gosh, Saturday night, I have never heard so many frogs in my life. Like, I think there had to be different species of frog. There had to be thousands of them. It's like, where do they hang out? Where have y'all been all this time? All of a sudden, just... Frog Central. It was a chorus of frogs and sirens. Oh yeah, it's kind of odd to hear all that, and then just off in the distance to hear the sirens of the emergency vehicles, and which could lead to the topic of people trying to. You're going to find a few people that are ignorant and don't know any better. You know, when you can't see the road, you shouldn't be driving in it because, you know, in Houston, you can go from a straight road and then all of a sudden it drops and then to like 10 feet. And then you're in a world of hurt because you're stuck in your car, your vehicle, and there's no way to get out of it. And so I remember as a child, my mother, my sister, and we were coming back from somewhere in Houston, and you know, it was raining like cats and dogs, and she hit a spot that was about 2 feet of water in our small little car. And we kind of floated there for a while. Mm-hmm. We were very scared as children, that is, nervous. But we did manage to abandon the car and make our way because we weren't that far from our apartment at that time. But it just goes to show that, you know, stay out of that mess. You know, whether you're here or whatever, there are always going to be low-lying areas where water can be deceiving. And that was especially true here close to the house on the Beltway, where I guess a sinkhole opened up. Yeah, that was further south of us. There's been 2 sinkholes opened up, one in Rosenberg, and they had video of that one actually collapsing the road.
That was very significant.
Yes, and then the one, because we're very close to a Beltway 8. If you drive south on Beltway 8, there's maybe two or three street lights, and then you get to where I think that sinkhole is they're talking about, because it's over the Beltway, kind of. I know exactly where that is, but the thing is, even though we're fine right here at our house and kind of this neighborhood, we're still trapped because all the major ways to get out of here have some significant flooding on it somewhere, and we don't know where those spots are unless we go to local news websites and listen to the local news. So there is a list of these roads. If you go to khou.com, they have a comprehensive list of school closings, high water locations, evacuation orders where people have been either mandatory or voluntary evacuated. They have photos of what's flooded. They've got the forecast, what's about to happen with Tropical Storm Harvey. What has really taken me by surprise is, I was here for Ike, is I have never been in an emergency situation where the city officials have called for volunteers, citizens within the city. If you have a boat, you have a high water vehicle that can not get flooded, basically if you're a redneck, if you can help, please help. And now they're saying today they no longer need emergency volunteers, but if you're in a situation where you've got a neighborhood and you can help and you get people out, like way down there in Dickinson, which is, we used to live in Webster and that's flooded, but below Webster is Dickinson. Dickinson is flooded. There was a guy who has a boat and he posted it on Reddit and Twitter. It's like, if you need help, please call my cell phone. I got a boat. So people were going to social media if you need help, and it's just, no, I have not seen anybody be so selfish. If they can help, they will help. That it's just been an amazing to see. Other than there's some reports of looting, and I listened to Mayor Turner say that it's been minimal, and some of them they have caught them, and he says, just remember, we can save you, and we can also put you in jail.
Well, before we go down that, I want to backtrack because, you're talking about the spirit of people coming together as a community and reaching out to help their fellow neighbors in hand. Now, it's important to bring up our neighbors in Louisiana, namely the Cajun Navy.
The Cajun Navy is here.
Yeah. Did you want to talk a little bit about that? And
I'm not sure. I'm thinking the Cajun Navy is just a group of volunteers, kind of like a volunteer fire department. Guys with trucks and boats coming over and offering their boats to rescue people as well. And the sad thing is they're probably going to have to turn right back around and get back to Louisiana to start helping their own people.
Well, I thought it was important because one member of the Cajun Navy brought up a few things about what they kind of focus on as far as when they go into one of these situations, what to do and what to bring. And one, they put as many life jackets on a boat as they can, because, you've got so many people that you're probably out there rescuing, and it's important to get these life jackets on them. It's also important that when they go out, they bring lots of bottled water. I mean, at this point, I'm sure you've got a lot of people they're exhausted, they're thirsty, and they haven't drank anything, and drinking water would be perfect for them. Also, they coordinate with the local law enforcement so that they're making the best out of their search patterns to rescue people. They check their trucks and move it to higher ground when water rises. So, without their trucks, they can't haul their boats around. It's very important to make sure they're on the high ground so that they don't lose the vehicles they need to get there in the first place and then to get to the next place. Also important with them is they bring extra gasoline because, when you're in
they bring supplies.
When you're in that situation, you may not be able to get to a gas station. So having that extra gasoline supply definitely goes a long way. Don't do this alone. Is part of what they do is, bring a strong friend. so that the more that they can help out, the better. So it's always good to have somebody that has your backside while you're doing these rescues. Another thing is that it gets dark. You're looking even during the day. You're looking at different areas that are kind of shaded, dark, and they're hard to see in. So they bring very powerful spotlights, bring air horns to kind of coordinate when they've found somebody that they need more help. So those are some of the things that they focus around when they're doing their rescues. And so in fact in the news, the Cajun Navy, they resuscitated a Houston resident that was found floating lifeless in the water. So I mean, it just goes to the spirit of the Gulf Coast neighbors. Louisiana and Texas have always had this,
we're used to this
kinship, if you will, of helping each other out. We've had a rivalries. I can't even say it.
Texas has a rivalry with everybody. That's pretty much it.
But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is between Louisiana and Texas, we hug it out and we respect each other, and it's great to see that in action, especially with this Cajun Navy. And like I said, I'm not going to detract from the Houston residents alone. The
National Guard.
Yeah, true, the National Guard, but it comes back to the people taking control of the situation, not waiting for Christmas to come to, because, in the end, an apocalyptic situation like this.
It's what it felt like the end of the world. It really did.
It's nice for people to reach out and help their brother man, and that's what we've seen a lot of. It's, the attitude of Houston, Surlana, this is why I like Houston, is the people here in Houston are much different. I've traveled a lot over the United States, and I've seen different people, and I love the different locations that I've been in the United States. But Houstonians, there's just a different frame of mind when it comes to Houstonians.
There's a difference between us and Dallas, even.
Yeah, in fact, the rest of we are like little different little areas. San Antonio, Austin, Dallas. They all have that their feel for their city. And Houston is just a unique breed of people that, I'm glad that I hang my hat here in Houston and love Houston.
And I'm not a native, so I'm from Louisiana. So
she's an honorary Texan now.
But hearing things like the Cajun Army coming does make me feel better about where I'm from and that they're willing to help out. And even if we had run all the way home to my hometown in Shreveport, we still wouldn't have escaped most of this. But
getting back to the you were saying
the volunteers,
looters,
and the looters, they've been minimal. We kept it. You have to be bat crap crazy to be a looter in this situation because every other Houstonian is armed.
Well, that's true. And I just want to point out the police were pointing that we've already arrested a handful of looters. And, of course, they've made it really clear to our community we're going to do whatever it takes to protect their homes and their businesses. So the cops are out there, and they're going to knock whoever into next week who tries to...
That's what the mayor said. He goes, we're going because we can save you, and we can also put you in jail. Mm-hmm. So you pick which one.
So you got to be pretty stupid to try to loot right now. I mean, and it's just been a handful of people. And I want to make sure that people understand that it's not been like widespread looting or anything. Just a handful of people, and you can't. I know the expression is it takes one bad apple to ruin the whole thing.
Now, I was just thinking that earlier.
Yeah, and so really people out there that are listening to the program should understand that a handful of Houstonians doing stupid things, well, you're going to find that in just about any city. But here, it's not been a really big focus. The big focus, if you will, has been the idea of taking care of people in this devastating time. And which brings me, and I just want to bring up this thing because I was watching the news in general, and I believe it was a CNN reporter that was questioning our governor about where we're going to be turning away undocumented people from coming to these shelters. And he
desperate to make it political.
Yeah, desperate to make it political, and at least he summed it up by saying, "Look, we're going to help our fellow man no matter where they come from. We're not asking for papers when they come into these shelters. We're trying to take care of these people, regardless of race, creed, color, whatever. I mean, right now we're in a situation where we're just not thinking in terms of like that here in Houston. We're thinking in terms of
save a life.
Save a life. My God, let's get that baby to somewhere higher and clear, dry, or for example, that I guess it was the nursing home of the infamous picture that's been going around Twitter about the elderly couple, Surlana, that were in water. It had that one lady knitting.
I want to address that.
Why don't you bring that up?
It's now a very famous photo of a nursing home where the elderly were sitting in their chairs like nothing was happening, up to their chest. There was a lady sitting in her chair, like almost chest deep in floodwater, knitting or crocheting. And it was another woman, looking kind of pitiful, just sitting there, and you could see a leg, kind of coming up from the water like somebody was reclining. And it went around, and people were hysterical and upset, which is good. That they should be. That'll get something done. But all the people in that photo, in that nursing home, are fine. They're safe, and they're dry. And there's a photo of them all dressed and sitting somewhere
comfortably warm and dry.
Yeah.
And that is a good example of how social media has impacted this hurricane, especially in Houston. In fact, going back to, I had heard somebody saying, "Hey, we need you to call in to the main line," because so many people were using social media to direct things. I
was on Reddit r/Houston, and I was on Twitter, and there were people like, "Help! There's my cousin is trapped at this address, and they're on the roof, and they've got a baby," and then people would just be spreading that around. So, for once, the viral effect of social media did something good rather than trolling and trashing, and So, however, there was a lot of garbage posting on Twitter. They were taking advantage of the hashtag Hurricane Harvey, and it was crap about Katy Perry and just things that had nothing to do with helping. And so then the new Twitter feed started like, can we get these trash posters reported? He goes, let's make an effort to get these people reported.
And once again, it goes back to how I've been saying about with that CNN reporter trying to use this tragedy to promote their agenda. I mean, here was I'm not going to talk about the yes or no about climate change. And yet Katy Perry, I believe, was it Katy Perry talking about how blaming it on climate change for our angst?
Some celebrity.
But the thing is that, it's been 12 years since Houston has been ravaged by some kind of catastrophe like this. And it's important to point that out, is this is they're calling it a 1 in a 500 year event that has hit us. And
so we don't have to go through it again?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, we are a target no matter what, just like California's targets for earthquakes. Up the mid-plains are a target for tornadoes. I mean, it's just a matter of where you live.
Anywhere.
It's not really. It isn't. You think about it. I mean, we're on a ball traveling through space at just millions of miles an hour around a sun, and I mean, it's just a matter of one day that this
flood
Earth
doesn't get us, the coronal mass ejections will.
Exactly. So I mean, one way or another, just all you can do is just ride the roller coaster, enjoy the ride while it's still going.
Speaking of ride,
we
were watching the news the other day, and I was like, man, I want one of those. Houston Metro, which is our bus, our city buses and city transportation. Metro has a freaking military Humvee.
They have one of the original Humvee. The H1.
Where it has the big, long tailpipe that goes straight up, so you can drive into flooded water. It's like, I want one of those. Yeah, that was freaking awesome.
I think to some degree you've always wanted a
high water vehicle.
High water vehicle, exactly.
But see, it's practical.
I mean, it is practical, yes, and true.
Now, I had heard, maybe I misheard this because I was trying to get some updates real quick before we started. I want to say that the city official, maybe it was the mayor, said that it could take up to 3 months for some flooded bayous and other waterways to go down. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's feasible. Did I hear that right?
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. I guess let's start with this. Basically, the tropical storm Harvey has dumped more than 15 trillion gallons of water onto Texas. I mean, 15 trillion gallons.
That is a freaking lot of...
That is, and that, I'm trying to remember the last thing that was here, and that, what was it, the hurricane that came here?
Ike.
Yeah, it was Ike.
We were here for Ike.
And the time when we left and went north? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Ike...
well, actually, we went north for Rita. We stayed for
Rita. It was
Ike
Rita is what I was thinking
at the
of.
tail end.
But Rita dumped a significant amount of water, and that was a whatever mess all to itself because people were trying to evacuate all at once. Mm-hmm. And so the thing is that there's a lot of water, and it's caused a lot of destruction. And so we need to get drained out and start to dry out. And once we're dried out, then we can start assessing and tearing out things because, they're going to start gutting homes, trashing them to,
But the
rebuild.
Drying out process is going to take...
It'll take some time. And
probably into next week.
Well, at the very least, at least a week, maybe two. And, I mean, this is going to be an ongoing process. I mean, a lot of homes have been devastated. A lot of people, middle incomes, maybe lower, have been affected by this. It's a difficult time for a lot of people like that. Which at this point, let's see here. I have to play this. This is the segment that gets my goat. So Mattress Mac.
Yes.
He is a major guy here when it comes to one of the business partners
Gallery
here in Houston. Yes, Gallery Furniture. The man is a legend here. He started with his, his furniture place by doing overnight spots on TV and became so popular because of his catchphrase, "I will save you money," and jumping up and down. But the man is just so full of zest and energy, and he shows that by paying it back to the public here in Houston. He loves the community. He is definitely a Houstonian, true and true. And basically, he opened up his business for displaced people that could not,
I saw the photo.
Yeah.
There's people... When he says that he opened up Gallery Furniture, they open up the store, and there's people refugees sitting on the floor displays. Mm-hmm. And they don't care.
And the man, like I said, it's important to point out that here is a shining example of someone who loves his community and gives back to his community.
Well, what gets your goat?
Well, here's where it gets my goat. And I hate to bring up religion in this because usually religion is a very sensitive subject. But I'm talking about Joel Osteen with Lakewood
Church.
Yeah, Lakewood Church.
The mega church.
Now, the church, for those who don't know, it used to be what was called the Summit, which became the Compact Center where the Houston Rockets used to play. So at some point, Lakewood Church bought the building and made it their church.
Pretty big building.
It's a significantly big building. And, it's just... people don't understand where's Joel Osteen because he is a significant person here in Houston. I mean, as far as churches go, Lakewood Church, people know Joel Osteen. And, of course, they know him across the nation as well. And basically, he's been absent through this whole thing. And people don't understand why he hasn't opened up
the Lakewood Church.
The Lakewood Church. And I bring up the thing about H-Town. Let the record show that Mattress Mac opened up Gallery Furniture as a shelter, but Joel Osteen kept the doors of Lakewood Church closed. I'm blown away by the fact, and I'm not trying to make this a stab at religion in anything, but in this case, I have a problem with mega churches in general because they're making it more about the money than they are about the enlightenment of God in your life. Mm-hmm. And so that usually bothers me in the sense that, they're not practicing
what they preach.
What they're supposed to be preaching from the
Love
Bible.
thy neighbor.
Yes. The old expression, I think I read a tweet about something about Let's see if I can find that tweet again. Something about teach a man to fish.
Yeah,
and,
everybody knows that one.
Here is a tweet. It said, if you give a man a fish he eats for a day, lock your megachurch during a huge storm, teach a man how to be a fish. I mean, it's just a sad commentary on something like that, and I'm glad Houstonians in general are not like that. They're taking care of their community, and like I said, I go back to Mattress Mac. Here's a man who's been vested in the community. He always gives back, and he's a shining example of what Houstonians are all about. And that is why I want to make sure that people know that when they hear this Lakewood Church thing, that it shouldn't be the only focus here on Houston. It should be people like Mattress Mac who have reached out to the community and taken care of their own.
Yes, I was just waiting for you to be finished.
Sorry, I got a lot to say on lots of subjects tonight.
Yeah, well, Bush Intercontinental Airport is down probably till Thursday because you don't need to be flying into Houston for anything right now if you're outside. It's just a huge mess. I think they may have some water somewhere. But, I don't know if Hobby is closed, but I would think Hobby would be because it's it's further south. But the power is out for 100,000 people in Houston. So there is a lot of people who have lost everything right now. So now, as I had heard that some people in the more southeast cities do need to boil water before they, cook with it or consume it. Other places you don't need to do that. Like I don't think we need to do that, but we don't use our water anyway.
Use it to
like
shower,
that. Yeah.
maybe wash some dishes, but
wash our clothes. And that's
we
it.
use bottled water, a container machine thingy.
So if you don't know, I think you should need to get on like maybe your city's website or go to one of the local news, and you can find out if you need to boil or not. And also, again, a list of road closures and school closures and evacuations. There's a good comprehensive list on khou.com. And then rain chances are not going to diminish till Thursday, which is a 50% chance. I still don't like that. I don't like those odds. I don't like them at all. So.
Well, and going back to the rain aspect, there are two major. How do you say the reservoir?
Reservoir. Oh, I know somebody that's calling in right now.
Oh, well, let's take that call.
Hey, what's going on?
Wow, that was quick.
Hey, it's our good friend of the show, Leanne. How are you, Leanne?
Well, I was waiting for you.
Hey, I'm doing okay. We have no internet now, though.
Oh no! Did you get your power back? You said it came back.
We got the power back. I don't know if whatever it was that took the power out maybe took the internet out too. I don't know. They were down on the main street into our little subdivision, working on Energy was working on the power, but and then after the power came on, I came in here I was going to boot up so I could get on the chat. And I couldn't get to the chat. I couldn't get to anything. The internet's down.
That's all right.
So
I was just really concerned about y'all because I know your neighborhood's kind of low lying in some places, and I know you've got your family, you got your mom, and you've got big horses and little horses and
donkeys and lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my!
I was asking you before if you've got life jackets, like children's life jackets, you could put on the mini horses.
Yeah, I need floaties for them, I think. Actually, they're fine. They're all in the mini pen. We have we have a big dog house that used to belong to a Doberman that we used to have a long time ago, and so there's this big dog house out there, and all three of the little mini horses get up in the big dog house, so they're fine.
They fit in that big dog house.
They're all three of them are in there, which is crazy because there's 2 mini babies and then 1 3-year-old mini, and they're all 3 are in that doghouse.
And how many?
Cinco's on.
How many of those are actually yours? Just one?
No, 2. 2 are. No, honey, the internet's not working. My husband's very upset that the internet is not working.
Yeah, that's just like my husband.
He can't get on and play his game.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not happy. But
I can hear him in the background fussing.
No, he's not a happy camper.
Is your mom okay? Is she there too?
She's at her house. She's in her mobile home, and she's fine.
Okay.
You know, she's got power. Everything's good over there. And the back half of our property flooded. From like the very back of our property, which we've got 3 acres. So like I would say like maybe 1 acre of our property was underwater at one point. And you could not there was a point where you couldn't get in or out of the neighborhood unless you had one of those really big jacked up trucks.
Mm-hmm.
But now we had a break this morning when we got up. It wasn't raining.
Yeah.
And the water drained off, and so now you can get in and out of the neighborhood pretty easily. I mean, there's a lot of people around us who had water in their houses, who are flooded, and we heard that at the beginning of the storm that a tree fell on some lady in Porter's mobile home, and she was killed.
No.
Yeah, that's what we heard. I mean, that was just something we heard on, I don't know, Randy heard it on through, somebody told him through chat today that it had happened. So, but schools in this area are closed all week.
Mm-hmm.
So only one of the local grocery stores, Kroger, is open. And they're doing only 25 people can come in at a time.
Wow.
Actually, we were seeing that on YouTube streaming where they were letting, somebody, it was almost like you go into Best Buy and they have somebody up front, monitoring people coming in and then letting people go. And yeah, but the thing is, when you went there, Leanne, did you find it very orderly? Or
did you even go? She's just saying that's what.
Randy, I did not go. Randy and Nathan went. They were going to try and go in and pick up a few things, and they said that the line was out the door. They said it was like wrapping around the front of the store, and they were like, we're not going to wait on this.
We didn't encounter that.
We had long lines at HEB, but
to check out, but not to get in.
And a good friend of the show, Max, posted a picture from a Walmart where indeed people were streaming out the front of the Walmart. So I mean, at least people are able to pick up some of the basic necessities, even though it may not be everything they might need, but at least they're able to get something.
Yeah, and there's like a few little convenience stores around that are still open. Like CVS has been like consistently open, I think, through most of it. And so, people can go get ice or get a few basics, I think. I mean, we shopped beforehand, and so we were pretty much ready. Except, I mean, we needed ice when the power went out, but of course, 5 minutes after Randy got home with the ice, the power came back on. So.
Well, at least you have the ice now.
Yeah.
It could happen again. Because we're not done.
Right, it could happen again, so we're ready. But, yeah, there's we've had big gusts of wind all day, off and on, and so there's a lot of limbs down all over the place. There's a big limb in front of my mom's front porch, and what? Okay.
What's he want you to go play cards
like
with him?
Yeah, it's not like I'm on the phone or anything. Anyway, I guess I'm going to have to call Suddenlink.
Yeah, I can't take it.
But they're in Kingwood, and Kingwood was hit pretty hard. I mean,
Yes.
So there's a lot of flooding over there. So it might have something to do with that. It might have something to do with, the whatever happened with the electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing there. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, we were okay here. I mean, we fared a lot better than a lot of people. Cause,
Same here. Yes.
I mean, a lot of people are really bad off, but we just are lucky enough to be on a high part of
the street.
The street. There's kind of a little hill, and we're at the top of the hill, so we did okay. Our street was. I mean, it was underwater. The other half of it was underwater at the worst of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand there's like more coming or something.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to really follow the weather because I've been trying to charge my phone. And
it's not going to. There's more coming, but it's not going to be as drastic as it was before. Let me ask you this, Leanne. Were you here when Rita came through and all that mess?
Yeah.
And how does this
actually,
compare? How does this compare with what we're seeing now versus in past storms that we've been hit before?
We weren't really bad for Rita because
Ike was it?
Or Ike?
We were on the clean side, but Ike, we rode Ike out, and I will never do that again. Never. That was scary. I think it's worse because I think in terms of now, as far as what we experienced, Ike was worse because we had trees down. We had power was out for over a week. We had a tornado go through the back of our pasture, barely missed our barn. Our roof was damaged. We had a lot of stuff happen just because of the wind. But as far as I think Houston in general, I think what's happened this time, it's been so much worse because of the way the storm just kind of squatted in one spot. And I mean, I know it was moving like at 2 miles an hour most of the time, and that meant just tons and tons and tons of rain, and it was just more than the city could take. I mean, more than any of our. I know one of my neighbors was complaining to me. She said, the city was wrong. They should have known. They should have, fixed our drainage problems. They didn't do it right. And I was like, you know what? I was like, even if they had fixed it the way you think they should, it wouldn't have been enough to handle this. Because, I mean, there comes a time when you just can't prepare for that. I mean, when you look at all the water that was dumped on us at once, there's no way to prepare for that. I mean, there just isn't.
It's beyond biblical amounts.
I agree. It's pretty bad. I mean, I don't think, and I disagree with all the people who said, they should have evacuated. Why didn't they evacuate earlier? No, all those people would be dead, drowned on the roads right now if they had, tried to evacuate the entire city. That's just crazy talk. So. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people like to throw rocks, Well,
let me ask you this, since you brought that up. Do you think, in the looking over the past 7 days, do you feel like you were informed that this was going to be coming? I mean, did you feel like this caught you off guard?
Yeah, I do feel like it caught me off guard, but it happened really fast. It was one of those storms. I don't think it was anybody's fault. Now, personally, I was out of town because I went on a trip to Arkansas. And
that's where you were.
Yeah, I was like, I had a friend that was visiting, and she was in Hot Springs, which is only about a 6-hour drive from here, and my mom wanted to go visit with her cousin and that lives nearby, and so we made a quick trip up there, and we were coming back home Thursday morning. We got up early and left
when it started,
and we're on the way home. Well, we had heard there was like a disturbance in the Gulf,
in the force.
And there was a disturbance in the Gulf. We heard there was like a tropical storm or something in the Gulf, but they were like, "Oh, it's going to go, it's going to go off to Brownsville or Corpus." They were like, "It's not headed to Houston," and we were like, "Well, okay, we'll probably get rain from it,
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't. I mean, it was one of those things where it's just like, oh, okay, it's not headed directly for us. We were a little concerned. We heard about it Wednesday night, but then Thursday morning we're headed home, and they're telling us, look, you need to hurry up and get here because we need to get ready for the storm. And so it was crazy, just trying to make sure that we had supplies, and with animals I had to make sure I could run go get hay, before it got here, so that I wouldn't be caught without it, because there's not going to be any hauling any hay out to the pasture until it dries out a little bit. So
your next purchase needs to be a rowboat
or something. I don't know. Yeah, an all-terrain vehicle, and one of those things that can go on water and land, and haul a bale of hay.
An airboat.
An airboat. That's what I need. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, this week was. I think the storm I think it happened just really fast. I think it caught a lot of people off guard. No one expected it to behave the way it did.
And then the water, when it came, they didn't expect it to rise so fast, and people were trapped in their attics, and they're saying, don't go in your attic, you're going to get trapped in your attic, and you'll have to have an axe to break your way out of the roof. And they're saying, just go straight to your roof. And I even saw a photo of people who had 2 tents pitched on their roof. Wow.
I don't know, the stories I have heard from people. I mean, I saw posts from people on Facebook that I know that they went up in their attic. But I mean, I can kind of see that, because if it's lightning and thunder and raining really hard, and I get it. But I mean, if you go up there, you better be prepared to punch a hole in your roof.
You could pay me to go in our attic under any circumstances. I'll take my chances with lightning.
Over wasps.
I think to be honest with you, if it got to the point where it was getting to our attic, we would not be here. We would be elsewhere.
Yeah. Speaking of wasps, there was one sitting on the side of my stainless steel pot in the sink. I was going to clear out the sink and load up the dishwasher, and there it was, just like doing like ab crunches or something on the side of the pot. And I was like, oh my God. And he's like, what's wrong? I said, come get this thing. And he wrapped it up in a tissue, and it was still buzzing. And I'm like, oh, I'm drowning in the water. It was like I don't know if it was a wasp or a hornet, yellow jacket.
It looked like a hornet, because I grabbed some paper and put it, grabbed it, and then kind of made, twisted it so it couldn't get out, and then I just chunked it out the front door so that, get
let
rid of it.
Let the rain take care of
it. So.
Oh, God, the mosquitoes are going to be just...
pretty intense,
God, they're going to be so awful after all this.
They will be.
And
they definitely will be.
Because you were out without power, I don't know if you had a chance to do this, I went to your workplace's website, and they still say you're only going to be closed till August 30th, which has got to be a load of malarkey if they think they're going to open that soon.
I don't understand that either, because I know that the Clear Lake area was hit really hard, like especially League City and Dickinson and around there. And
Dickinson is just almost gone.
Dickinson is like, yeah, they're like, and then I just heard from another friend of mine that lives in LaPorte. They were told to shelter in place, not to go out of doors, because there was some kind of chemical spill at one of the plants in LaPorte. And so they were like, and they said they're like releasing whatever, and so it's not safe to go outside.
Well, you just tell your workplace you're flooded in.
Well, get a little. It's interesting we bring this up, because I wanted to bring this one up, and it is that I read a Facebook post by one of my friends here that said that the gentleman worked at a hotel here in Houston, and the boss wanted. He told his boss, "Well, I can't come in. I'm because of the weather," and his boss said, "Take pictures, prove that you're unable to come in." And I was like just floored by the fact that that somebody would have the gall to actually, considering everything that's going on right now.
If your employer doesn't care about your safety, you don't need to work for that employer, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah, somehow that doesn't surprise me.
I sent you photos that I found of my workplace, which has actual water in it. And they said they're going to be closed till September 4th, which is after Labor Day? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I had
that's going to be a cleanup. Yeah.
I had plans to come see you, but I guess we'll have to put those on hold till further notice.
Yeah, until, roads are passable again.
I was going to come see and pet the pretty ponies, but I'll wait till they dry out.
Well, yeah, it may be okay. We'll see. We'll see what happens over the next several days. I'm wondering, how long it's going to take things to get back to normal.
I think it's going to take longer than people think.
Yeah, I believe it's going to take several months to get back to normal. I mean, at the very least. Until all this rain goes away, we're going to be saturated with water. So that's the first thing, is to dry out and then assess and then start to clean up and then rebuild. So that you go into those three phases: the drying out, the assessment, and then the rebuild. So at least 3 months, I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. I think it's going to take a lot longer. To clean up everything that's happened.
Yeah, it was just more devastating and unprecedented. They kept saying that these are unprecedented levels of water. The amount of tornado warnings happening within a 48-hour period. I've never heard so many tornado warnings in my life.
Gosh. I know. It's like my phone was constantly buzzing with it was either a tornado or a flash flood. I was like, all right, I get it.
Well, flash flood's a given, it's like every 30 minutes. A flash flood running, like, oh, duh.
Right. Yeah, I know. It was, and what was up with the weather warnings on TV? It was like flashback to the 1970s. It was like this gray screen and this. I was like, really?
Oh, that was more like the flood control. That was more like the flood authority, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They have
Harris
more
County flood
bare bones maps, for elevations and things like that.
Well, that was important when they were talking about the reservoir, about releasing the water out of that. And
Addicts Reservoir, the levee is right behind our house. You can see it from our house.
That's what you had said. That's pretty scary.
But I don't know that them releasing that water had anything to do with where we live. It's more of, if they didn't do it, then that levee has the potential to become unstable. Then that would be a mess for us. Then
it would be a problem.
Then we'd be up at your house riding horses.
Yeah. That's right. Petting ponies. That's right.
People can make fun of you all they want to, but at least you do have some apocalypse-proof transportation. You've got a horse for everybody in your family.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. I do.
My sister said hi. She's listening. She was in the chat. Oh, she's still there, but she's still away. But they're listening in too.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. It's been a very interesting week, and I think it's been very heartening to see everyday people get out and help each other. I mean, when the National Guard or whoever couldn't get to places, there were people out in their boats and their jet skis and, with their trucks, and they were hauling people to safety and, giving them rides and, making runs to stores or sharing supplies and stuff. I mean, I saw kind of stories on Facebook and on the news, where just everyday people were out there making a difference, helping each other. I thought that was really cool.
I did too, and I think, that's a point of pride, and I think it's okay to be smug about it too.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, we thank you for calling in, and I'm so glad you got power back. I hope Randy calms down. Maybe you could go play checkers with him or something.
That's why it's important when you're a gamer, to download some games that you enjoy playing that is not connected. Yeah, offline.
Unfortunately, with us though, it's the same thing with Steam. It still has to be.
Some of the.
He has board games. He has war games, war games. But yeah, so he's got. But I think he's just mad because there's no internet. So.
Does he know there was a freaking hurricane?
He does.
I can hear him in the background fussing about something.
Well, no, that's actually Nathan you're hearing, because he's playing a game, but it's not one that has to have the internet. He's in there playing some Marvel game. Randy's in there rattling stuff around in the kitchen. I don't know what he's doing in there. Probably need to go check on things.
Yeah, well, I think that's what we're about to do.
Things are about to go up in smoke, so you better check on it.
Could be. Okay, well, y'all stay safe and stay dry.
I'll be checking on you.
Else out there is safe as well, and we'll be checking in.
Okay.
Well, thanks for calling the universe.
All right, you're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
That's my Pookie.
So there you go. The whole hurricane situation. Did you have any last things?
It's not over.
Yeah,
it's not over. We're not out of the woods yet. We're still very damp. There's more coming. But if you follow us on Twitter, especially, we'll keep you updated there. If you follow the universe on Facebook, we got updates there. Our personal pages, we've been going like crazy. So yeah.
Well, let me, I've got a few things here.
Sure.
I want to just circle back and talk about why wasn't Houston evacuated? I
don't know if they knew.
I really believe, and in the days to come, there's going to be a lot of blame game going on. But it's important to highlight the fact that, I usually, me. If I think that, I could see this hurricane coming, Surlana, I think we need to prep, or we need to get this in order, we need to get that. This thing came out of nowhere. And I don't think that a lot of people, well, let me rephrase this. A lot of people probably were in the mindset like, okay, we're going to get a little rain, we'll just hunker down like we normally do.
Next time.
They were not expecting what had happened. And to be quite frankly, this thing, okay, it's going to Corpus Christi. So, okay, first it was going to Mexico, and it popped back out. Then it was going to Corpus Christi.
They didn't want New Mexico.
It didn't want Corpus Christi either, so it popped back out. And so it dumped all that rain here. So to blame, it's so easy to point the finger. But you remember, when you point the finger, you've got 3 other fingers pointing back at you. So you shouldn't really jump to conclusions. I think that I'm giving this mayor a break. I think he probably would have suggested more evacuations. I agree with Leanne. People. It goes back to what was it, Ike, when everybody fled, it's Katrina. Well, man, those two were like neck and neck, back and back. When everybody fled, you remember how that was? We were on the LaPorte Freeway
I didn't want to do that again.
For hours. It didn't, and then I finally, what we did is we decided to go right. Meaning going towards Louisiana.
We went into Louisiana.
We went down 10 towards Louisiana where the hurricane was coming, and then we went up the back roads to get to your dad's house at the time.
You went up the back roads, and then you fell asleep. You were exhausted.
I was tired.
And it was nighttime, and I didn't know where we were, and I just went by instinct because I kind of knew Louisiana. Mm-hmm. We've got another call, and I think I know who it is.
Well, go ahead and let's take it.
Hey, Bev.
Hi.
Yeah, we're not running the call center. We didn't want to waste the money on that one.
I see.
That takes money to run. So.
Well, I don't blame you. Well, I'm just so glad to hear that you guys are safe. I have been so worried. Well, we both have been so worried about you.
Well, something could have happened. It was a legitimate worry.
Well, when you said that the water was so close to your house, I'm like, oh my God, Bob, what will they do?
Yeah.
Well, just stand in it like idiots is the only thing we could have done. The only thing about the thing is, though, the rain that's coming down, that has been coming down, it's cold. Once you get inside, it's like, oh, it's so cold.
I hate cold rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
It hits you, and then you're cold for hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when we went to shopping at HEB earlier, I dropped Surlana off at the front of the store so she didn't have to run through the rain. And then I walked. Well, I had an umbrella to get to the.
Yeah, a lot of good umbrellas.
But on the way back to take the stuff to the van,
we both hoofed it.
I got just drenched. But even at that, when I went into HEB, I was like freezing cold. I was shivering.
Yeah, it's
cold.
cold.
I don't normally do that. I'm usually generating a lot of BTUs, and
so the flood water, if you're in it, it's probably cold. You know?
Oh.
It's another reason you get rescued.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, man, I just couldn't believe the way it hit. It just came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. It just out of nowhere. I mean, and that's why I keep saying that the blame game, it's coming. There's always, when there's a situation like this, somebody wants to blame somebody for this. And in this situation, you can't blame. I'm not going to blame the mayor.
No.
And
I blame that system of low pressure that formed out in the Gulf.
However,
there you go.
I do blame people who have the resources and choose not to help. And that I think is a crime upon itself.
Yes, it is. Well, and you were saying about that saying, give a man a fish and that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I instantly thought of the golden rule: do unto others as you would have others do unto you.
True, I agree with you. It's a terrible thing, and I want to make sure that people outside of Houston know that is not representative of Houston as a whole. Because our community has come together, and like I said, no matter if you're Hispanic, African American, Asian, we were all one people trying to help each other out to take care of us. Because in the end, in this kind of a situation, we're not looking at that. So that's how I look at it. That perspective is, and that's why I like Houston so much. Is that we're all one big melting pot, because Houston in general is
like America.
It is a big melting pot because
more behaved.
We have a prominent Indian community, an Asian community that's on the west side here. It's just so many different people. We do a lot of business here. People come because of the port. So it's just good to see all people coming together like that.
Yes, and what's really sad is it takes a catastrophe like this for people to come together. We should come together always, not just in a catastrophe.
I agree with you. But even, I do want to point out, Bev, that even without this catastrophe, Houstonians in general are like that. I think one, we all have that Texan mentality here, and that's as we help each other here. But Houstonians are they're unique, and I don't want to detract the rest of the Texans here, because San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, El Paso, we all have our unique flavors. But at the end, I think we all kind of here in Texas have that help our neighbor because help may not be coming from some places. So the best way to take care of things is to help thy neighbor as you would your own self.
and with us, we're such a small community. There's maybe 800, if we're lucky, people in Arcadia, Ohio, and we help each other out. During the winter, when it snows a lot, our neighbor comes over with his, he's got a forklift, and he puts a blade on it for snow. Mm-hmm. He comes over and he clears us out and clears our sidewalk out and shovels our porch off and our steps. And, they look after us because they know, we're not always able to do it. Mm-hmm. And that makes it nice. It does.
And I think, out of the years that we've known you, Bev and Bob, you are a personification of the kind of people that I'm talking about. That here in Texas, is that you have a good community, a good people that help each other and look out for each other. So and that's why I enjoy the fact that you're a part of our universe, and I just wanted to point that out.
Well, I'm so glad that we're a part of it. You make us feel good.
Good, and that's the thing, is that you come to the universe because you want to hear something good and uplifting, or you just follow our craziness between the both of us, and then of course, like I said, it's always nice to hear from you and Bob, and we love you too here.
Oh, well, thank you. and I'm just, like I said, I'm going to pray for you all until all this is over.
Well, we'll
that
take.
You guys stay safe.
We'll take that.
Because it works.
Well, Bev, thanks for calling us, and you always have an open invitation between you and Bob, and one day if we ever start traveling the country here, we're going to make a pit stop there.
Well, hey, we wouldn't expect anything else. I would love to meet you guys.
Well, there's always a Maker Fair.
Yeah.
If you can get down here.
Oh, that would be kind of hard with me on O2.
But anyway, stay keep the prayers coming. We appreciate it, and like I said, tune in Saturday. We'll have a show Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're taking some of your rain now because it's pouring here.
Good, take it all.
Oh, well, I just wanted to call in and let you guys know that we're thinking about you and praying for you.
Well, thank you, Bev.
And that we love you.
We love you too, and give Bob a big hug for us.
Yeah.
Oh, I sure will.
All right, talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Love you guys.
Bye.
And that's what I like about our audience. We have such a great audience. Space Cadets are unique individuals, and that's why I try to, make sure that, when they do come to the show and the chat room, it's a safe place where they can escape from the hardships of whatever is alienating them at the time. And, we appreciate everybody that tunes in. We can't do a show without you. I mean, we probably could, but and then we would be like crazy people with no audience.
Yeah, long as we have power, we'll be fine. If we don't, we'll probably be shouting at the moon or something. It's rough without AC and your conveniences, but I think if something does happen, we'll be okay. We won't like it, but we'll be okay. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, we're not out of the woods. As things being so saturated, I suppose it's feasible we could be without power for a different reason, after today. I don't know if it, a pole could go over or something because of the ground, or, I could see us losing power very easily from here out, but...
Yeah. So.
In fact, I think I hear thunder right now.
I think it was my stomach.
Yeah, I'm ready to open up something.
Well, I think that. Do you have anything lastly to add?
Like I said, keep up with us on social media. We'll keep you updated there. Same with friends and family. I'll always be around to pester Leanne so she can't escape. Holly, brace yourself. I'm saying, seriously, go now and get you some supplies just in case they go insane, because you don't know.
Hide your husband, hide your wife.
Hide your kids, hide your husband, hide your wife.
Because it's coming, know. I guess let me say some final thoughts, and then we'll go ahead and close the program. As I look over the past week here in Houston, Texas, I am rejoiced by knowing that hope has played a major thing here. Hope in my fellow Houstonians that they haven't let me down, in the sense that they have helped their neighbor, and it just goes to show that despite, even before the hurricane, with the people here in Houston, they've always been good neighbors, helping out, doing what they can, a spirit that is unkindled like any place that I've gone through my travels, and it's always brought me joy, and why I feel positive in saying that hope is still alive, and it is very much here in Houston. So on that magical note, Surlana, I will leave you with our outro, and we will see you this coming Saturday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on the SBU network.
Spaceboy Universe is hosted by Spaceboy and Surlana. Executive producer is Surlana. Social media producer is Dennis Koch. Associate producer is Leanne Cordes. Music production is Spaceboy of SpaceboyMusic.com. Special thanks goes out to Leanne K, K28, Mark S, and Bob N. This has been a Spaceboy Universe production. Support the universe by exploring Spaceboy Universe with Spaceboy and Surlana. Sweet dreams, Space Cadets.